There's big pollen today, big pollen. There's not nasal, face, hole, eye holes, water, saliva. Okay, welcome to the Ace Zone CSGO Majors tier list. What we're gonna do today, well, it's obvious. We're gonna take all the top 19 majors and rank them by either Ace Zone, Dookie tier, aka Ace Zone competitor, or everything in between, and go over a little bit of history. Let's hop right in because there's a lot of Dookie here. Let's get the Dookie out of the way. All right, let's get into it. Let's go by the year here, okay? So the first major was the DreamHack Winter 2013. Fnatic won. Okay, the story of this one was Fnatic coming into the major as not even an outside favorite. In terms of Swedish teams, you'd think, oh, they're probably right there by NiP. No, it was like NiP, Very Games, Astana Dragon / Virtus Pro, everyone else. Wasn't even close. But NiP had a documentary crew follow them to this major, and it was too much pressure for them to win the first major after going 87-0 on LAN, having that huge win streak, being the best team by far, get right, GOAT player, felt like was going to be forever. And then Fnatic came through and won, and then this was the start of Pronax. Okay, but because NiP didn't win, expectations were subverted. It was an upset major. It was epic because it was the first major, but it was very small, and the stories were still latent when it came to the Fnatic players. So in my opinion, the first major in CSGO, I'm going to put that in C, just to set the bar, to give room above it, because is that a little crazy? I mean, there was some cool stuff that came on. That's fine. I'm going with that. All right, Kato 2014. This one has a special place in my heart. I'm a big fan of the Polish guys, all right? Zivix all around, all right? Taz, Neo, Bialy, Snacks, everybody here on this team. Pasha, of course, Papa Biceps, biked to Paris to be there for one day just to watch 9 lose and fly back home. Crazy, okay? But this was the beginning. This is why we talk about Virtus Pro. I have a bias towards teams winning at home. Okay, so yeah, technically Fnatic won at home, but it wasn't the right Swedes at the time. Don't want to be revisionist, okay? When we were there, it didn't feel that good. When you look back, whoa, Fnatic, they won a million majors. Fnatic winning at home was A tier for me. Absolutely epic. Loved this, was so excited. Great, fantastic. Sadly, for Virtus Pro, this was the end of the road. There was no more majors for Virtus Pro because of ELEAGUE 2017, which we're going to jump ahead a little bit because we have to talk about the fact that Glaive took the first Ace Zone major, okay? This was crazy. This was Glaive calling a masterclass T-side train map 3 versus Virtus Pro. When they were in the finals, they were up 12-7. Glaive called a rush outside, a rush inside, a fake outside, and put together the first Astralis major, the first of many. This one was very legitimate. This one was with Kirby MVP, into Magis joining the team, into 3 more majors, into GOAT IGL, getting his first chip and breaking the curse for Device of choking in semis, breaking the curse for Zipix, breaking the curse for Dupree. This was huge, and it was so amazing in that Fox Theater in Atlanta 2017. Amazing scenes, really fun to watch. My favorite major of all time. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. It's so early in the video, but you know, there's got to be a hook in the beginning. Okay, so why don't we move forward? EMS Kato 2014. Oops, just got to hot swap these. Got the wrong icon here. All right, this is where Cologne starts to become a big conversation. This is massive, okay, because now we look back on history. NIP were in the grand finals of the first 5 majors and only won 1. That's Get Right, back-to-back #1 player of the year. That's NIP 87-0 in the beginning of the game. Forrest, Get Right exists, Freiburg, Faflaren. 5 majors where they made the finals. This is the only one they won. The feeling was we're supposed to get a long NIP era, you know, thinking maybe this is going to be the biggest era in history. They'll never be taken down. But instead, they only won the 1 major. So for me, this was the start of Cologne. This was an epic final, but Fnatic would go on to steal 2 major finals from NIP. And for me, this was more of a relief major. I'm going to put this in B, even though it was an epic win for NIP to finally get it. In retrospect, it's kind of a shame they didn't do more than this, which is sort of how I'm looking at this, even though it was pretty sweet. I'm going to, we'll see. I'm going to give room here. Okay, I'm going to give room here because that's how I feel right now. Now, if there are 2 French brothers in Counter-Strike, it's going to be Shocks and Smith. They won DreamHack Winter 2014, LDLC, the first of 2 French majors. Whoa! Before Vitality, 3 in total. There was a little bit of a period of dominance, but at the same time, it wasn't like majors in a row or anything like that. So, you know, it went Fnatic, VP, LDLC, Fnatic, and then Brazil. And in that, of course, LDLC taking is another very important one. In the history of CSGO, this is about teams that were supposed to win getting it. You know, Shocks getting the major, Smiths getting the major. Some of the early stories and everything, people who have been grinding for a long time, everyone kind of got their chip in the end. That's what it sort of feels like. That's what CSGO is about for me when I look back on history. At least that's the big narrative, all right? So this major was hard as hell, okay? So we're going to put that in A as well because we love that. And Shocks was my favorite player at the time, so I'm not biased at all. Yeah, but the thing is that this was the Olaf boost major. This could have been Fnatic winning. Now, the thing is, outside of Fnatic winning, they still had a very hard route to the finals. Like, they still had to beat Fnatic, then Na'Vi, then NiP in the finals. And Fnatic won because of the Olaf pass boost. You remember this? Insert clipperino. This was history for better or worse. Fnatic got bullied out of this major. This was a moment that's never happened before where it was basically clipping on overpass, a boost that came out on the A side of overpass that was found. They found something on Reddit or YouTube from somebody who sent them this boost. They saved it all the way for this major. Then they used it when they needed to make a giant comeback on overpass where they probably could have still made it. That's what people don't understand because the map was incredibly CT-sided. But at this point, you know, it almost felt like they were just waiting for the chance to make the comeback because they know they had the boost. Now, one thing that goes underrated a little bit about this as well is the fact that Olaf, these shots are not easy, okay? Why would you say that? Like, that's such a crazy thing to say. But these shots were actually kind of hard. These scout shots that he hit, of course, it got a little crazier afterwards, but there was a display of skill. I'm going to put that out there. And Olaf, of course, one of the absolute legends of the game. But why don't we put this in A? Because this is such a big part of CSGO history, okay? That's why it's an A. Katowice 2015, Fnatic win over NiP in the grand finals. This is an amazing final, of course. This is Fnatic with Flusha and Olaf, top of the board. I think this major had Flusha, higher ADR than even Olaf. No one gives him his flowers, all right? Flusha was insane. At the time, of course, there was this cheating allegations against Flusha. I heard somebody called him the F word in the lunch line at LAN at a major once because everyone kind of agreed he was cheating. It was getting so bad at one point. Every single chat comment for months was just, is Flusha cheating? Look at this clip. It was just nonstop. I never gave any validity to these claims. Some people still think that he cheated. I never did personally. I think the funny part about this for me was it got so bad that you were allowed to openly bully Flusha for cheating as if it was a fact, even though he never got banned. And there was a point where Hellraisers made a meme where they said on Twitter, we'll do a giveaway for like CSGO skins or money. If you can create a clip like Flusha's clips that looks so blatant that he's cheating, and they said do it with Angel's gameplay. Then they used Angel's gameplay and someone put together a bunch of clips and it actually looked like he was cheating. And the joke was that like you could actually, if you really wanted to hone in on any player who has good crosshair placement, has played maps for thousands of hours, they're gonna land on some people who are behind walls at some point. So whether you're more or less sketchy, it was kind of a weird basis to put a ban on him. Anyways, my biggest evidence for Flusha after this was the fact that the major after the cheating accusations, Flusha played insanely well. They still won. Like he didn't stop. So even when I heard there were people standing behind him while he was practicing at LAN, and Flusha's always said, I don't care, I don't care. And you know, when people say I don't care, they don't really mean it. You know what I mean? But Flusha, he really doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. All right. And he proved it by going off on the next major. These are all such good majors. Okay, I'm putting this one, Cologne, as well. Cologne has just become such an epic event through history because of all of these amazing runs that we see. This is a Fnatic period that I'm all putting in A. I've got no A-Stone major here for any of the Fnatic majors, but it's just, they're all burgeoning. It's just, they're all great finals. They're all great majors to go back and watch. It's so good. The raw crowd mics, like listen to the audio from back then. It was just different. Like the energy was just different.
They're ready to shoot some ducks as they cross the middle. It's going to be a challenge, and Apex, not in this lifetime. He is destroyed.
I wonder if that's just a nostalgia thing for me as someone who's watched for a long time, but a lot of commentators talk about the fact that the crowd mics were so raw back then. It was as if like your commentator was standing in the crowd, you know, in a seat, and everyone was screaming around them. And even though it doesn't sound as professional, it just sounds so good, like a live studio session. Do you know what I mean? Cluj 2015, this is Envy getting their chip. This is, you know, Hastro coming into the scene, building a roster in the midst of the craziest French shuffle ever. Happy MBK SK, Kiyoshima, Kenny S, Apex. This is Apex's second major. This is Kenny S first. I think this is his MVP. This is such a great story for Envy. This is Happy picking up a chip as a new IGL out of France. Famously, it was Existence who was the best player in Source and the best caller and all that. They didn't really win anything in CSGO, and so it was honestly a lot about Happy as when it came to CSGO calling. LDCZ came out of Happy into him winning with both LDLC and with Team Envious, and then after this, a massive roster trouble. Everything went wrong from France, as expected. We're gonna throw this in A as well. Oh my god, we had so many good majors, honestly. It's gonna get a little bit hairier, I think. God, I loved MLG Columbus. This was actually the first major that I attended. So this one I was doing interviews at, and this was where Liquid played with Simple, and then they made it to semis to play against Coldzera, and I was standing in the audience when the Coldzera jumping up 4K happened. And on behalf of North America, I speak for everyone when I say we did not know how to feel. We both knew that we watched one of the most epic moments in Counter-Strike history that will probably ever happen. This doesn't even happen in matchmaking, but it happened to us. This was Liquid with a massive lead on the two maps that they played on into Luminosity, bringing it back in both games. And if Coldzera didn't get this play, he was the only one on B. There was a full B hit coming. He needed to hit all these shots, and he did, and he got a goddamn graffiti. And I remember standing there in the crowd and looking up at the screens and just going like this. Like I had my head in my hands and I looked around and everybody felt the same thing because we just got cucked basically. It was like an epic moment that we had to appreciate even though it was happening to us. And this was when it really started for Brazil and Coldzera's story, and this was pretty freaking special. So I'm going to put that one up in A as well. All right, and then we have Cologne. This is SK making it to the grand finals versus Liquid. Another amazing Cologne event. Now this is Liquid, the first time that North America has ever made it to a major grand final. Liquid, the hope of NA. It always felt like this was going to be the team to bring the first major. This is what it felt like was written in the cards for us. iBuyPower, Cloud9, they were good, but they weren't good enough. Enter Team Liquid into getting Simple, into Simple's story beginning, into making a grand final. This is also really incredible. Gonna put this up in A tier. Wow, CSGO is so blessed. But then we move forward. Where's Atlanta? Oh, Atlanta. There's Atlanta. There's Atlanta, baby. Again, baby. This is Glaive. This is Astralis. This is them breaking their mental curse, showing that they're good enough, but they weren't mentally good enough. Glaive replaced Kerrigan on this team, solved their choking problem, went on to succeed so heavily with this roster. Of course, a beautiful grand finals, a beautiful final half to a grand finals, which you can't always pick them. You just got to hope the teams play well, and they did, and it was very special. I'm glad ELEAGUE got that because they did a lot for CSGO, and they were such a good TO in the scene, and it just felt so premium to be on TV, to be able to watch a new story emerge, for it to be a massive comeback. Very exciting. I'm so sorry, Poland, but that's obviously in the A zone. Krakow as the next major. This is the one major I remember as basically just booty, so I'm going to put this in A zone competitor. Finally, we got to have something. Reason being, this is the first time that two insanely unlikely teams both made it to the finals, and then the next time is Rio, even though Heroic are still very good and could have been predicted to make it to the finals. This is the weakest major final in history. It's no one's fault. This is just what happens sometimes, and at least once in a while. I guess it would be weird if it never happened at all. Some people were very happy. I heard they rolled out the red carpet for Hobbit when he landed at home in Kazakhstan, and the president greeted them as they came through. Really cool. But Immortals being there and Gambit being there, I would have liked if it was just one upset. Okay, so Krakow, not memorable for me, but maybe it is more memorable in some ways, but not for good reason. So, and I gotta have something down there. Too many Dookie headphone companies out here that they gotta be represented. All right, moving forward to Boston. Now, what do we think about Boston? I mean, if you're from North America, I think the answer is obvious, baby. But was it really the best? Well, yeah, because Cloud9, everyone says they got lucky, whatever. You can't get lucky for a whole major. This was an incredible run that they put together. They had the hardest major run in history. Cloud9 had to 3-2 the Legend stage. They had to beat Astralis when they were down 0-2. They did that. They qualified to playoffs. Then they had the hard side of the bracket. They had to beat G2. They had to beat SK, and then they had to beat FaZe. SK was ranked number 1. FaZe was ranked number 2. G2 was ranked number 5. And Cloud9 was ranked number 6 at the time. They had the hardest possible run with the hardest team to beat in the grand finals. Stole that major away from Nico. Stole that major away from Kerrigan. Stole that major away from Guardian. Stole another major away from Olaf. And stole a major major away from Reign, who had been on FaCe since its inception. This was so heartbreaking for Europe, and that's why most people can't be happy for Cloud9, of course. But Cloud9, if you were in North America, you were literally crying. This is the first major. This major was so freaking special. It's up in the A zone tier. The 2 E-League majors, both an NA, one with an NA winner. That's crazy. And I honestly want to say I'm not biased. The emotions were crazy. The grand finals going to overtime on map 3. It was just such a crescendo of emotions. All right, now things get a little bit more sketchy. All right, we've got FACEIT. Now, funnily enough, I was looking at Steam stats from back then, and the game actually started to get smaller after Cloud9 won. I don't know, maybe Europeans gave up hope. This major was kind of unfortunate because we get Astralis Navi final, and by the way, Navi have quietly lost 3 grand finals at this point. Simple joins the team. It's a very bad final from Simple. It's great for Astralis and the start of something big for Astralis, but things start to get a little bit more boring, I guess, with the Astralis victories, if you can say that. So the first one was very special for me for after this, and also this was unlucky from FACEIT. The group stage had so many overtimes. It was, I think, a record-setting amount of overtimes in the group stages. As soon as we got to playoffs, it was like no overtimes at all. Easy wipeouts, nothing really special to talk about. No games I can remember. So I'm going to throw that down in the D tier. Katowice 2019. Okay, who remembers this? This is Alexi B with ENCE, with a finished lineup, with Natu, who built this org by himself, getting into a grand final. Something really special about that. The only issue was the fact that it was such a one-sided grand final. There was no chance once they got there. Fairy Tale run up until a point, you know, like Cloud9 being able to win. I love the fact that it was this finished lineup that did it out of nowhere. Perkele, you know what I mean? It was a sight to behold, but at the same time, getting into grand finals was one thing, getting mopped in grand finals is another. This one was not too memorable for me, so I'm going to throw it down in the C tier. Then we're going to move forward. We've got Berlin. We're wrapping up here. Berlin was also just like whatever to me. I mean, we got Avangar in the finals, Astralis, no chance. It's just too easy. I don't know, maybe even D tier. Okay, we'll just throw that down there. I've got nothing special to say about Berlin personally. And now we move into Stockholm, all right? There's a 2-year gap, of course. Everything goes online. We get out of the online period. The first major back, PGL Stockholm 2021. One of the best grand finals. Absolutely special. This is Simple getting it. It's a relief major, but it's also a fantastic MVP performance, best MVP performance in history out of Simple, and a great grand final, and a reminder that this game is still very much alive and super special. I'm not going to put it up there personally in the A tier, although I will say it was nice to have Simple win that major, but I'm going to throw it in B. I think there were some more epic majors before that. And then Rio was the most hyped major probably of all time, because this was the major that was supposed to take place during the online period, and then it got canceled, and we've never had a major in Brazil, and we knew they were going to pack out a stadium. The problem was that at Rio, Guales had everybody outside with instruments. There was a bunch of logistical problems about getting people inside. They weren't allowing instruments in at first, and it was actually a pretty filled stadium, but it didn't look like it. It was very loud in the arena, but it didn't really sound like it on the streams. It was a mixture of messy and crazy at the same time. We had the Furia quarterfinal versus Navi. That was pretty spectacular, but at the same time, the 2 grand finals being Outsiders and Heroic was just not special for anybody. Kind of a letdown. Would have at least liked to have a Brazilian team if it was going to be upsets. I don't think if either Outsiders or Heroic won, though, it would have been that special at the time. I'm going to throw this down into the D tier, honestly. I think so. It was interesting, but compared to the hype and everything, it was just unfortunate. I think the next time that they go back to Brazil, I know that obviously they're going to be able to sort things out, but in terms of crowd and stuff, that part was pretty insane, honestly. I think the problem was that the Challenger stage and Legend stage were better than playoffs, and then the finals were really disappointing. So, okay, we're going to limit that to C tier. All right, well, we're going to do Antwerp now. This is Kerrigan winning a major. All right, it's another relief major, another player getting their chip. You know, back in 2018 when Cloud9 stole it from Kerrigan, this is his chance to get back. You know, FaZe getting a major just needed to happen. I think I could put this in A tier. It was cool to have an audience that was so well balanced. I think where this won was that the fact that the audience, we had, you know, the Golden Hornets, we had the Roaring Bears from Big, we had like everybody's fan sections came out, and we realized running an event in Central Europe was awesome for everyone one, and we saw that everyone would fly out. So huge from that perspective. Great games, great final, great winner of the final. That's going in A. All right, so the last and final, of course, I casted this major grand final, so that's easy. Paris, we're gonna even put this ahead, the best major of all time. Fantastic. I decided, hey, if this isn't gonna be the best major of all time, I'm not gonna cast grand finals. That's what I said. That's it, the ACE Major tier list, okay? All the CSGO majors ranked. As you can see, we are quite blessed with the amount of great majors that we've had, some fantastic stories, and my favorite part of this whole period of CSGO is the fact that so many players got their chip. The one thing that kills me is the fact that Nico didn't get one. That's the one thing. I don't know if I would trade the Cloud9 win to get Nico that chip, but that is the one thing that bugs me. The second thing is Guardian, but less so. Nico, he's been good ever since Guardian's kind of fallen off the face of the earth. So otherwise, we've had so many great majors. It was truly a blessed 10 years of Counter-Strike. We did extremely well, and we got very lucky with the amount of good teams and personalities and stories getting tied up. So did you love it? Did you hate it? You let me know. I want to see this discussion in the comments. Appreciate you guys so much. And of course, make sure to pick up a copy of the best CS2 headphones on the market. ACE baby. Nothing beats them. Best ANC ever. CS2, I had a bunch of people ask me in interviews about the CS2 audio, how it was so bad. And I remember thinking, like, what are you talking about? I've been using these ACE Aspires, which are the base model, by the way, not the more expensive ones. And they're perfect with Counter-Strike 2. There's no problem with audio. Don't even think twice about it. Pick up a pair. They support this channel. I'm a brand ambassador for them in CSGO, and that's because these guys are doing good work. Nice little startup. I know everyone involved. Been to the offices, tested the headphones, wear them at events. I was wearing it for the show match. Remember that? Did you watch that, huh? ACE baby. All right, hope you loved it. See you in the next one.